Welcome back, fellow armchair generals. This is Gamer 1745 here with my continued playthrough of Hearts of Iron 4 with Black Ice. Now, while we had our eyes off of, well, at least the Western European ball and pushing into the Soviet Union, there have been some Allied landings, it would appear, so we have to react to those. Now, in my opinion, the three biggest mistakes of World War II were, now what would you say they were? I'm going to give you mine here in just a second, but what would you say, and I'm sure there's something coming to your head, talking by, and I'm not talking like some soldier stepping on a mine or something like that. Decisions of one sort. It could be, invasion strategies. Here's a mistake. I forget which one, but one of these islands out here, Britain did an invasion and defeated the Axis forces on them, and then found, oops, the Luftwaffe still existed and couldn't hold it. Not that the Germans were overwhelmingly counter-invading, but they just couldn't continue to supply friendships to it, so they had to withdraw. And this was, I think, 43, sometime in there. Invading the game is hardwired for the Soviets to invade, right? Yeah, that is a major mistake. Now, so there's, we're talking decisions. Okay, the three biggest. Number 3, I would put, is the invasion of the Soviet Union. That is the third biggest mistake of World War II. So I would agree that that is a major mistake. The second major mistake is Mussolini joining Germany and going to war with the Western Allies, shall we say, when they declared war against France and Britain. That would be the second. Okay, let's see. Arno. 1, the invasion of the Soviet Union, too late. Should have started 3 months earlier. 2 battles for the Dutch East Indies could have gone better and coordinated. And 3, letting Italy join World War II. Yes. So we have similar there is, and I put that at number 2, is Italy joining the war. Is what pushed there. Number 1 mistake of World War II is Germany invading Poland. That is the biggest mistake. Why? Well, obviously, Germany successfully, and they could have done it without the Soviet Union's help, as well as without the Yugoslav and Slovak forces' help as well. They could have done it without, be victorious with it. But Hitler really, really believed that the Western powers, Britain and France, would not go to war over Poland. And so you could argue, yes, Hitler defeats the Germans, not really Hitler, but the German army defeats France. But they don't defeat Britain. And because they can't defeat Britain, they go to war with the Soviet Union. And so, not that Hitler hadn't planned an eventual war with the Soviet Union, but the Soviet Union invasion is just secondary to the war with Britain. I personally believe that, shall we say, in the 1940s, as the conditions sort of prevailed, I think Germany, whether in 1940, 1941, 1944, 1946. You know, without starting a war with the Western Allies, without already starting World War II, I really believe the German war machine would have defeated the Soviet Union. I truly, truly believe that. Now, or could have, not would have is a bit strong. It's almost impossible to have a scenario in which Poland defeats, marches its armies into Berlin. Now, we could see a political collapse of the Nazis, a counter, what left-wing or right-wing revolution, or some crazy thing like that, if Germany can't take Poland or take Warsaw or something. But you can make mistake after mistake after mistake. Germany's still going to defeat Poland. That's just going to happen militarily. I'm not saying that whether it's Hitler directing the war or the German high command directing the war, Germany can make enough mistakes that the Soviet Union could win against Germany. So I'm not saying would defeat the Soviet Union properly, but could. In a practical sense, Germany could defeat the Soviet Union, in my belief. It's that they have to fight the Western Allies, In 1941, well, you're already at war with Britain, which is drawing off a lot of resources. You have to man, just like what's happened here, you have to man defenses to keep, the British from invading, and they're doing, commando raids along there already. Before you invade into, before the invasion of the Soviet Union starts, you've got to deal with air power battles back and forth, naval battles. You have a lot of distractions already in dealing with Britain. You invade in 41. Before the end of 41 happens, you have Japan bringing in the U.S. And so all of that is distracting you from fighting the Soviet Union. And you're right, going late to it, and we've gone in much later, we've made the worst mistake. But going in, even if they went in at the good time of the year and pushed in deep and maybe taken Moscow, I don't know whether the Soviets would have fallen or not. But so whenever you go in 41, or if you go in 42 at a good time of the year, without having to worry about everybody else in the world, I think Germany could recover. Germany is a professional enough army, air force, if it could put all of its air power, protecting itself from whatever limited Soviet bombing would have been possible, which there was limited bombing, strategic bombing. But all that's needed, they could have pushed, done sort of a, more mobile than World War I, but sort of a World War I style attrition war against the Soviet Union, and have won. I believe that is very possible. Yes, you can bungle it, but it would take German bungling, in my opinion, to have that happen. But because even just holding off against the British is enough to make things not go well. Although I bet Stalin would have invaded down the line, even if it wasn't. Yes, I truly do believe, and it's not for, because some people run into, especially I would say modern day Germans, which many are watching this channel now, want to justify the invasion of the Soviet Union by, well, Hitler is just preempting Stalin, it would have happened. For that or other sort of justification reasons, people often want to, I guess you can join that attack. It might not be the best thing, but try it out. Just to pin these forces here. It's not just that. I truly believe the Soviet Union under Stalin was an eventual conflict with National Socialism. I really believe that. Now, had it not been for National Socialism, I don't know that Stalin would have invaded Poland if it looked to be the Western Allies were going to stand up. But we see definitely, Stalin getting the Baltic states, Stalin going after Finland, Stalin going after Romania. And look, there's hardly any goddamn thing in Romania that like is strategic to Soviet needs, and I don't think that defending against possible wars with other powers, you need Finland. And I think any reasonable now if you're going to, whether, and I do believe Stalin was a paranoiac, either you're paranoid or you're just not or just your general mentality of a Soviet, just believes that all of the capitalist world out there is eventually going to come after them. How your tanks division looks like. Yeah, we can look at some of those. They're not necessarily so great. We're still running lots of Panzer 1s, Panzer 2s in them, as we can see here, and I was about ready to change some templates on some of these guys. As you can see here again, about ready to change templates on them. And then I looked here and saw we don't have enough Panzer 3s as it is. We got enough Panzer 4s, but we're not producing enough to meet our current attrition losses, so I didn't want to shift up to better divisions just yet. So, so either just the Soviets are like, hey, the capitalist world is going to kill us eventually, so we have to move against them, or they're paranoid to really believe that any intelligence assessment shows that Finland is looking to jump in and go to war with, the Soviet Union. Sure, maybe at some point that if we got too many divisions up here and I need them somewhere else. Let's move these guys. That we're losing, and somebody else is, marching into the, into Moscow, that at that point, probably Finland would try to grab up some territory, if nothing, or just join the intervention against the Soviets. But that's only in the situation where you're looking at, perceived eventual defeat. The only reason the Finns joined the fight with the Soviets is that it's the continuation war, so that they felt they were invaded and still, in effect, at war with the Soviet Union, and believed, and I again believe rightly so, that just wait for the right conditions, weather being one of them. They probably weren't going to invade again in winter, but more right conditions dealing with what's going on with Germany, either get German permission to come into Finland or, something. The Soviets were going to reinvade. So if Germany invades the Soviet Union, Finns are looking, they're getting German pressure. Finns are looking at, well, if we stay neutral and the Soviets defeat the Germans, they're going to accidentally, if nothing else, gobble us up, because they're going to have a well-trained professional army. They'll do some northern exercises that just happen to cross our border, and they're going to liberate us from prosperity and freedom. And so they know that if the Soviet Union is winning, they're going to be eaten back up, because we've already seen the Soviets try. But if we join the war, we have a chance to get our territory back, and maybe eliminate the Soviets as a threat, because Russia still would be a threat, but the Soviets were the greater threat than just simply Russians. Finland, partially my understanding, decides not to push past its earlier borders is because it sees how badly Germany is treating its conquered territories, particularly the Ukrainians, because the Ukrainians welcome with open arms Germans as liberators, and then see almost immediately Germany as being incredibly barbaric to the Ukrainians. And so the Finns realize, well, these Germans are doing such bad policies. Just those policies may cost them the war. But even if Germany wins, we don't know that we want to be associated with German practices of occupation of Russian or Soviet territory. So we're not even going to participate in occupying any Soviet territory. Not one single Soviet citizen is going to be occupied by a Finnish soldier. Germans, they can march across our territory to, go after Murmansk, try to march and cut off the rail links. They can do all that from our territory, but we're not leaving our borders. We're just defending our borders, our original borders, liberating whatever peoples in there that we're going to call Finns. And we're not going to associate ourselves. That is part of the reason they hold back, which helps cost Germany the war, because I do believe had the Finns really pushed for Leningrad, along with a good German push, I think Leningrad would have fallen. And that would have freed up a lot of German troops to operate in the north, and very likely could have changed the situation. Stalin apparently looked at the list of people being executed, and some days would say there aren't enough, and want to add more. Yes, Stalin was like that. Yeah, and I agree with you, Arno, but I don't have any. You're talking like tank destroyers and self-propelled artillery, and you're absolutely right about it. But I just don't have any, and I have 5,000 troops without uniforms. So, and we can clearly state, and I'll clearly state it, that it's my fault that I don't have the extra 5,000 uniforms, and I haven't built a proper army. This is why I've been saying this is going to be a disaster. Now we're going to cancel paratrooper equipment. And we're going to add a couple of more factories for field uniforms. And so you're absolutely right, Arno, but it's just send some naval bombers to escorts in the Black Sea. Ooh. Do we have some extra naval bombers? That would be a smart thing. Now that I may have some. Yes, we will dump in 40. Now, mentioning that. So, I've achieved all three disasters that Hitler did. One, we invaded Poland. I mean, that's sort of natural. That's what we're doing. Two, Italy's come into the war. And three, we have even made a worse invasion of the Soviet Union than historical. So we are achieving all of that. So I expect to go down in flames. Now, I did look here, and in 5.3 months, we're going to run out of fuel. So that means we need more fuel. Silos help in storage of fuel. They do not help in production of fuel. So we're going to build some more synthetic fuel plants, and we're going to move them to the top. And that means all the rest of this, well, I'll do these, move these two to the top just to complete those briefly here. More synthetic fuel plants, and it probably won't be enough. And good thing we're also expanding Austrian oil. So let's let this continue. You guys get across the river. Now, I'm not sure why we're having such supply problems here. I have my problems with this map. I know they've had the event for the railway problems, but this is ridiculous. And I agree that the railways were screwed, but and like I say, we're already having enough problems, but all of this is just so. Let's see, incoming 40 plus local structure, 20% of previous infrastructure 14. Yeah, this is ridiculous that I'm getting supply problems already here. Looks like we've won there. I think we're gonna win here. And no, it's not me blaming the game for my failures to win. That's not what's happening here, because I fully admit that I am doing this badly. But the way this game is designed for divisional bloat and other things already, we should not be without supplies. Not here. Now maybe out here we should be, pushing deeper in. And IKB and I have talked a lot about railroads and how that should be handled within this game. Meaning that if I'm moving up, like in War Plan, along the main rail lines, I should have a reasonable, not endless, not, without problems, able to, sure, at some point we should run into some level of difficulty with supply, but should not be a super big issue so soon, or so much if you're moving out along the rail lines. It's when you get away from the rail lines, or the rail lines are cut to where you're at, then it becomes a real issue, or should become a real issue. I don't think you can support that attack there, maybe. Okay. Panzers, you break down to here. Now we also gonna have a problem with this map and not allowing trade with Romania, which is not the case in the regular map. You see, these guys aren't, because of supply problems, they're not freaking reorganizing themselves up. And that is a problem. Yes, we may alleviate some of that problem once. Look, people, look. Ugh. You're one freaking province in from East Prussia, from Memel, from a fairly major port. Okay, it isn't, you know, Rotterdam or whatever, as a major port in Europe. Memel isn't that big of a port, but 5 divisions are not. Okay, we're running. I did move some troops out of here, I know, because I do need them other places. Okay, it's just here. Let's move one of these guys here and some more SS officers to come up and vacation up in Oslo. Okay, well, we're not going to end the stream. Arno, Lala, stay there. But we're going to end this episode here. I want to thank you all for watching. Thanks for liking the videos. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Love to see you around more often. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on the 3 big mistakes. And it doesn't have to be Hitler's mistake. What were the 3, you know, another big mistake? Putting the Pacific Fleet out in Hawaii. That was a big mistake. Another big mistake wasn't getting word out to the Hawaiian garrison quickly enough over the planned declaration of war of Japan, which they did know in time in the U.S., in Washington, D.C., and had they more instantly communicated it to Pearl Harbor, they could have easily gotten that fleet out into the ocean and maneuvering before the attack had come, and maybe, you know, spoil the whole attack and they not even find it out at the ocean. But that could have I mean, they knew about it. Not that they knew about the attack. They did not know about the attack. They did know about the declaration of war. Had they known, had the Pacific Fleet commander known that Japan had declared war or was planning on declaring war the next day, they for sure would have gotten that fleet out of that harbor. That is standard practice, and they would have gotten it out. So wouldn't, you know, it's not that they knew that Pearl Harbor was going to be attacked. They probably thought it was like going to be attacked, you know, an attack happening out in the Philippines or something, but they probably didn't realize that. But, you know, what are your 3 biggest mistakes? You know, I mean, misjudgments, you know, doing things wrong that should have gone reasonably right. Misjudgments. So I'd love to hear your top 3. And it could be, you know, they don't have to be mine. I'd love to hear different people's opinions. So thanks so much. See you next time for more Hearts of Iron.